Hello and welcome to the Habit Architect. My name is Michael Cutts. It's good to see everyone again. I'm excited to talk about our topic today, which is employee benefits, and I'll introduce our guest in just a moment. But just a few things to keep in mind. Do like us and subscribe on whatever podcast channel is your favorite, because that helps us drive more content into those channels, and we want to bring interesting conversations to you. And don't forget to go check out the Time Bandit at timebandit.io, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Let me get started on our guest. Kristan Carlton is going to join me, and she is Vice President of Operations at Inspire Benefits. And Kristan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Michael.
There we go. There, I can see you. Very good. You just appeared. It's so good to see you. All disclosure, you actually provided benefits, or your firm provided benefits to a company I worked with, and I enjoyed getting to know you there. And since then, been able to talk a few times and work together. And so welcome to the show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about
My story is pretty short and sweet. Like you said, my name's Kristan. I'm the VP of Operations for Inspire Benefit Consultants. I'm going to handle like the day-to-day operations for Inspire. I also handle the large group side of Inspire Benefit Consultants. And that's pretty much it. I help make sure that the processes and procedures that we're working through are standardized and just meet the same expectation. Like the group gets the same expectation no matter what size across the board from every account manager.
Yeah. Let's start there, just because people may not know that because their employer who they work for, what is a large group versus a small group?
Sure. Yeah. So every brokerage is going to have a little bit of a different picture for large group versus small group. For us, it's going to be large group is considered anybody that has 50 employees or over. And the reason why is because once you start crossing that 50 life mark, you have a lot of additional compliance pieces that kick in. You're going to be looking at FMLA, ACA filing possibly, and so on. So once you hit 50, 100, 250, that type of thing, the rules kind of change. And so that to us is how we classify large group. And then small group would just be anything under 50.
Okay. And we'll get into kind of the benefit program in a minute, but what led you to this business? How did you become VP of Operations?
Yeah, it was by accident, but I can't say that it wasn't lined out exactly, put me exactly where I needed to be. So I was working for a pediatric therapy clinic in Tulsa, Oklahoma area, and I was the office manager there. So we had 2 locations, and I was helping run both. And I had Megan, my boss, just reach out to me randomly. She grew up with my aunts like 20-ish years ago. And for some reason, she was looking to hire another account manager on. The business was growing. She needed some additional help. And for some reason, she kept like thinking about me, which is weird because we hadn't seen each other in 20 years. And so she just happened to message me on Facebook one day and was like, "Hey, I have a job opportunity I would love to talk with you about. Are you interested?" And I loved what I did at the time. But something in me was like, yeah, I think I want to hear what you have to say. So we met, and it's just been ideal for me since then. It was an easy transition because like I knew how to deal with the carriers as a provider, right? And so I already understood the medical benefits under that scope, and just transferring that over to all the other benefits that it now encompasses, and being able to help my employers that way was an easy transition. So I'm right where I need to be.
That's fantastic. The lesson in there is take the meeting, at least this right? Yeah. You never know where it's going to lead you.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's interesting. We do have a lot of viewers from the UK and elsewhere. And what's really interesting is they don't understand the complexity of our healthcare system. And it sounds like you were on the provider side and the carrier side, and now you're trying to help people get the right benefit to suit their family situation. Yes. And it is very complex. I'm guessing just Inspire, just in general, you have the full functioning brokerage where you can provide healthcare, workers' comp, other types of benefits that go along with that. So you run the gamut? Or
we tend to stay in our own lane because like we don't do workman's comp and we don't do 401k. Like we do specialize in like the medical, the dental, the vision. If you think about disability products, anything that would also be considered, like a lot of people, if you say AFLAC, they understand what you're talking about, but those type of ancillary. So accident insurance, cancer policies, critical illness, anything that encompasses that type, I guess, picture it more like health benefits overall is where we tend to stay. And the reason why is because you can branch out and do all those other things, right? But we do this really well. And so that's what we just stick with. And then we partner with those other people. Like we have good referral sources for 401k, for payroll, for the workman's comp that we can like help bring in if needed. But for us in general, we do stick with what we do best. So
do you mind if I go to Benefit 101 with you and just say,
sure.
Because Because even in what you just said there, if I think about a younger adult moving into the workplace, maybe they just got out of college and then they're meeting a HR person and they're saying, here's all the benefits. Can you walk through how they should start thinking about their situation and to align the best benefit, or maybe how do they get help doing it?
Yeah. I think that a lot of people, the first place that I always recommend, obviously medical insurance trumps everything, right? Because that's going to be the biggest expense that anybody can face if something catastrophic happens. So if somebody is new to the benefits, I say, let's look at what do you have day in and day out expense-wise that you are anticipating when it comes to your medical care. So if somebody is currently on a medication that they have to fill regularly, or they see a specialist regularly for whatever reason, whether it's a dermatologist or they have to get lab work done or whatever, tell me your story without having to give me all the details. Just tell me, what kind of expenses are you looking at? Because if we need a plan that's going to plug in those copays right away, right? First dollar coverage, you know, you're only going to pay $25 if you go see your primary care. You're going to pay $50 if you see a specialist, and you need that security. Then I'm going to recommend a very different plan over if you're like a healthy individual who never uses your benefits, and it's more of like a catastrophic thing. So first, I recommend you look at that and see if, do I need those set copays from the start, or can I look at something different where maybe I have to meet my deductible first, but I'm not using it anyways. And so I would be able to contribute to a health savings account outside of this. And then secondly, I would look at your out-of-pocket max. Deductibles and everything like that obviously are important. But one of the things that I recommend people look at secondly is going to be, in a worst case scenario, catastrophic event, what can I afford? And that out-of-pocket max is going to tell you on that plan, is going to tell you if something major happens, it doesn't matter what it is. Like if it's you're diagnosed with cancer or you're involved in a major car accident or something like that, the out-of-pocket max is your worst case scenario for a year. And what can you afford? Where can we put you comfortably? And then it's going to be from there. It's okay. Let's see how much this is going to cost you, and do we need to make some adjustments there?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I like the way you broke it down, because it really is taking your personal situation, because it does feel a bit overwhelming. Even as you move through another career, you change jobs and there's different choices and maybe you're accustomed to one carrier and then not all of a sudden that's not a choice for you on the next one. Sure. It's interesting because the other thing that happens with, I think, our younger adults is they all feel invincible, because we did too when we were that age. I'm not going to get sick. And if I get sick, I'll just drink water or something like that. Or they just don't think about the catastrophic event that you mentioned. And it's interesting because I was diagnosed with cancer at 46 and I had no idea if I had the right insurance or not, to be perfectly honest. Fortunately for me, it worked out. It was something that worked into the way I needed to handle it, but I didn't plan for it. So it's an interesting thing, because that's when I read stories about healthcare costs, it's people that were caught by surprise.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so where do they go for answers? Just if, as an employee, a young adult now in a new company, a new job, is it their benefits administrator they should start with, or where do they go first?
Yeah, I see. So each of my groups is very different, right? That's the beauty of our setup, is none of this is a one size fits all. So I have some groups who the HR wants to be that go-to. They want to be that liaison for the employee. They want the employee to come to them first, problem solve what they can. If they have issues beyond the scope that the HR is able to handle, then they rope me in. And then I have others where I'm literally an extension of the HR, and they don't have time to learn and navigate the benefits world. And so they literally give my cell phone number over to the employees, and I'm there to help answer questions. I will say that for the most part, the most common answer is going to be go to HR. And the reason why is because whenever you do have people come onto a company, they get familiar with that HR, they get familiar with that team. And it's easier for them to go to them with questions and concerns versus reaching out to a third party that they've maybe seen once at open enrollment, right? They don't know me the same way that the HR team does. So HR does tend to be that go-to for everybody. And I say that's a great place to start.
Yeah, and I think the key moment there is don't be afraid to ask, because it's okay not to know all the answers.
There is no stupid questions in this industry whatsoever. If there is always something changing, whether it's because IRS is passing new legislation that's impacting what the carriers can do or how we're able to present benefits or what the employers are responsible for. Yeah. And that's the reason why we're here and we do what we do, is because people can't keep up with it. That's why it's our job. So absolutely ask all the questions.
All right. And then I want to get into other benefits in a minute, but let's first talk about, you mentioned dental and vision.
Sure.
And those are usually afterthoughts for whatever reason, but having gone through multiple surgeries, and then when I go to the dentist, I realized they have to get a release even up to a year, and I have to take antibiotics the day of even a cleaning.
Yeah.
So I asked my doctor about that, and I had no idea the critical link between your health and your teeth and gums and things like that. And it's just that routine thing, just staying on top of it, getting routine cleanings makes a huge difference to your body, not necessarily your smile.
Exactly. Yeah. And unfortunately, vision is the same way because they're able to catch some early on onset, like diabetes and stuff, if you do go in for your regular vision check. Preventative care is everything. It doesn't matter if it does fall under the medical insurance or if you are just going in to get those cleanings or if you are going in to get your eyes checked. Just taking those steps to be proactive and get the preventative care covered up front, it does help you avoid so much in the long run. And they all end up going together or impacting each other, however you want to say it. So
yeah. We're all linked. It's all linked. Yeah,
one
exactly.
piece of the body that's all impacted. Yes.
But the selection of those are usually a little more linear, right? They're easier than the health plan because it's either you elect in or you elect out, but maybe there's other options. That seems to be the typical stance, right?
Yeah. The dental insurance, you're going to see a wide variety of options available, especially under different employers and group sizes and things like that. And a lot of people, whenever they go to make the decision on the dental plan, it does come down to how much am I expecting to spend in a year? Because I have some people who are used to having a lot of dental problems come up. And so they're going to pick, like, if the plan is available that offers $2,000 or $3,000 to spend towards dental care, they're going to go with that option. And then I have other guys who just use it for preventative care. And so they're going to go with the cheapest plan possible. And it may only cover like $750 of dental work a year. So again, there's definitely some variety there, but it's not quite as looked at in depth as the medical piece for sure. And then vision is going to follow. It's going to be the same. If you wear glasses, you're going to look at it differently than somebody who doesn't. Yeah.
But I think the lesson there is that they can detect diabetes, other things just by doing routine stuff. So that's great.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move into the more, I wouldn't call them complex, but maybe unknown benefits. And one thing that we hear a lot about these days is mental health, especially after COVID, people working from home, not working from home, moving back to the office, all that uncertainty, but mental health may focus on HR leaders, and most programs have some form of EAP. If I'm saying that right, tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, you're right. A lot of employers are either looking to purchase a standalone EAP or they're packaging it with. A lot of my groups are looking at purchasing life insurance policies because the EAP comes bundled with that. So not only are you offering the EAP as a value-added service at no cost to your employees, but you're also giving them this additional low impact to the employer's budget benefits. You would never think you would need life insurance, but unfortunately, I have run into more situations than I would like to count where an employer had thankfully had that on the back end. But yes, the EAP, it's basically it gives the employee access to a counselor or a psychologist or whoever they need to talk to, whether it's about a situation between work or in-home, both. If they're having legal issues they need to talk to somebody about, it's discreet. Nobody has to know that it takes place. It's just between the employee and the counselor. So that's definitely a great tool. And a lot of people have definitely turned towards adding that into the benefit. I will say that overall, the medical plans obviously offer a behavioral health component. The downside to that is it usually comes with a copay cost, right? So you'll have to pay your specialist copay, or maybe you're still meeting your deductible or something like that. And then you have to worry about, is this person in network? Are they not? That type of thing. So that's the reason why they're looking and branching out towards other behavioral health options that could be available.
Yep. Yeah. And it's a critical piece, I think, these days for the benefit plan. The overall benefit plan is how to seek help. I do some volunteering with some addiction recovery places, and that's a stigmatism that's hard for people to, because I talk to them, it's hard for them to think about going to their employer with that problem because it will affect their employment status, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it has to be discreet and all that. Okay, so that's all complexity, but what else is out there? What's fun in the world that I see? I think we're going to interview him on the show, the CEO of Fringe, which is a fun company.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen, I think it was called Overalls, and I just looked at their website, and they seem interesting about running tasks for people like that. But what are you seeing out there?
in my world, it's going to be a little bit more boring, right? And it's not as fun as that. I do find I see trends where certain benefits take off a little bit more than others. And so right now I feel like the EAP had its moments, but now it looks like accident insurance is starting to play a heavy role. It's helping employers funnel some claims off of workman's comp. So helping workman's comp claims stay down, renewals stay down. Again, we're trying to save money anywhere that we can. And then the accident piece is nice because it's a really low cost solution that covers you in events you wouldn't even think about, like spider bites, if you get poison ivy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. They're accidents, right? You didn't intend for them to happen. And so if you have to go in and make a visit for that situation, then you have the opportunity to have cash sent back to you to help with offset any expenses that you have that come up with the ER visit or the urgent care visit, anything like that. I'm a huge fan of accident insurance. Again, it's one of those easy plugins and it gives you something, especially because I have lots of blue collar workers who like to be a little bit crazy sometimes, whether it's whether it's at Thanksgiving and they're trying to catch a football and they break their hand or whatever. Yeah. It's things like that. And again, that is not at the capacity of cancer. Cancer is devastating and financially all the way around, but still, if you break your hand, you're not necessarily expecting to have to pay $4,000 to meet your deductible plus all the other visits that follow. So accident insurance, it helps offset that. So that's the one that I see growing the most right now. But yeah.
But you're right. I didn't think about that. And what you said there, you're trying to offset cost in other areas, right? Yep. So workers' comp. And are there also things that are offsetting healthcare plan costs?
Yep. Yeah. And accident insurance is one. And that's because it gives people a little bit more comfortability to go with a higher deductible plan at a lower premium per month, knowing that, in the event that something happens, I'm not necessarily responsible for that $4,000 or that $5,000 deductible, right? I have something coming at me that's going to help offset that expense.
Yeah. So everybody should ask if they have that.
Yeah.
In the band. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. What about plans that are specifically designed for, because I won't share what health plan I'm with, but they send me stuff all the time. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure I read it all. There's straight loss programs. There's like a business store, stuff like that. And there's so much of it that I don't really pay attention to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to funnel through the noise. And again, that's where I appreciate that a lot of the carriers have like the wellness programs in place where they're going to give you cash back if you shop your benefits or shop for an MRI at a good location or whatever, or they're going to reward you for taking so many steps in a day, or there's reasons behind it, cost containment solutions and strategies behind it. But again, you're right. It's overwhelming to everybody. The amount of information that you can have access to that can be sent your way. Yeah. It's just one of those things where, unfortunately, I do feel like a lot of people don't necessarily pay attention to those emails until it's time for them to need to use the benefit or they need more information. And then it's like, where do I go to get the most clarity in that answer? So but you're right. A lot of carriers offer some really great programs. We do try to do some employee engagement or just highlight specific pieces of the plan for each group that we feel like is important. Those are usually funneled, the information is funneled through HR, then directly to the employees. But we do feel like there's value in what's offered in a lot of a lot of the programs. It's just, unfortunately, it does feel like noise sometimes.
Yeah. When you said that about getting steps and blood work and things like that, Catherine, my partner, she does it every year. She makes sure she hits all those marks and she gets steps back. Yeah. I unfortunately have not done that. It's great. It's there if people look, I think is there. And so let me workshop something with you a little bit, because I wrote a book and then I built an app called Time Bandit, and it's out there on the marketplaces and people can buy it. Recently, what I've been doing is packaging it in a way that HR organizations can offer it to their employees. And by the way, the book is based on helping you build better habits based on your value and then priority management. So the reason I think it's important to employers is because their people are stressed and sometimes they feel out of control. And if they feel out of control, they're not going to be very productive. And if you can help them get in just some basic defense on building better habits at work or understanding how to prioritize all those requests. But what I'm really not sure about, I'm not sure if that falls in the learning and development HR group or the benefits group. Does that make sense?
Yeah, honestly, it could be both. Because if you can tie in the benefits pieces and the packaging and the programs and all that into the time bandit, then it would cover the best of both worlds, right? Like it would be, it would house all that the employee could ever need. So that sounds like it would be amazing for both pieces.
Good. I'm even more encouraged than I'm going to.
Yeah.
I've talked to a couple companies about it, and it is encouraging. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes, not just B2C, but B2B. But do you see other programs like that where companies are coming to their employees and saying, here is a program that's voluntary, I'm guessing, and what's the uptake on that? Is if they sponsor it into the organization?
Yeah, I will say it's okay. So I have had companies that are bringing in products where it's housing all of that in one place, right? Whether it's the trainings, whether it's benefit information, and it's sending out, maybe it's through an app, it's sending out notifications of, hey, don't forget to go here and schedule your preventative visit and earn $20 back or something like that, some kind of incentive. But yeah, so the whole point is, or the whole, not point, but like where I see the most value play out is when the employees are receptive to it. So initially there's always like a hiccup or a hurdle that you have to cross, right? The employees are like, oh my gosh, you're asking me to do something additional to. But then when they see the value and they actually take the steps to go through with things like that, and they see the payoff, and the groups do too, like the employer side of it sees the benefit to that, and then it just ends up running so smoothly. People tend to be more excited about it. Then they start talking to their other like employer friends about it. And so I do see it make a change, make a shift in a lot of different ways and impact employers positively and employees positively. I do just see that initial like hurdle that you have to cross.
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing because keeping talent, retaining talent and attracting talent is necessary in certain sectors. Of course, it's more competitive. You were in one, nursing and things like that. It's highly competitive to try. The good news for nurses is they can find a job at any hospital, just about, but it's that to the employer, they need to think about programs that are going to have them want to be at the hospital.
Yeah, and that one is where, to me, and I might have a little bit of a skewed vision of this because of the company that I did work for, but I do feel like you're right. It's very competitive, right? So the benefits play a huge part into that, whether it's how much are you contributing to a 401k, or maybe it is the medical plans that you offer. But also, I think that the employees, when they feel heard and valued, that's where they build that retention for.
Now, why did you say you were jaded a bit?
I feel like the therapy world might be a little bit different than like a nursing world. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. My experience is limited to speech therapists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, and their view of the world versus like,
Absolutely. I got it. It's interesting to me. I think tech companies more than any, that's why you saw in Silicon Valley or Silicon Hills down in Austin, they were bringing in ping pong tables and bringing lunch in. But I actually think employees now are beyond that a little bit. That's okay. And it's cute, but what they really want is something that's really going to help them either achieve something personally or professionally.
Absolutely. No, I can completely agree with that, because it's not having a pizza party doesn't fulfill people the same way that it used to. So
exactly. Our producer asked a question, so we'll do that. What about benefits for remote workers? What do you think?
That's again where I feel like, I think that's another reason why I make the statement, employees have to feel heard and valued. Because if you're not in office and you don't have that day-to-day interaction with your boss to where you're building a relationship, it's going to be different whenever you work separate from each other. There's not that same kind of connection. Whenever the employees feel like they can go to somebody, whether it's HR, directly to the president of the company, and when they are expressing concerns or issues that they're having and they feel heard and they feel like they see initiative being taken from what they're expressing, that's where they feel valued. And then that's where people are like, I think I'm going to stay here because I can't go somewhere else and get that kind of response. So that's how I see it play out. So remote is just, you have to be more engaged. One of the
areas that I think is important that I'm not sure there's a fixed solution for it. Companies are creative in it. Is how do they mentor younger employees into organizations that work in a building? I don't go in very often, but when I do, I go to this. It's a food court cafeteria. I don't know what you call it, salads and stuff like that. And I just overheard a couple of young guys talking about, and it was a revelation. This was about a year ago. They said, wow, I learned so much more when I come into the office. And then they started talking about Howard or Betty or whoever they were sitting next to, teaching them things. And that's the one thing that I don't think we've got right yet is how do we help the younger employees learn what maybe learned over 10 years or 20 years? So it's an interesting thing that I think that's an opportunity for remote workers. And what about that? What is remote work now becoming a perk, or is it just, are people choosing, I'm going to work at that company, but work from home, or because
Yeah, I do feel like that. I feel like we saw a shift whenever COVID hit to where everybody was working remotely. And then it felt like a lot of companies realized we can do this. Like, we don't have to necessarily have an office. We can keep everybody remote. And there's pros and cons to that. One, I do feel like when it comes to the mental health component, not everybody's made to stay at home and just be alone and try to power through it. But so there's now a balance of where you're seeing employers calling people back into the office and some employers choosing to keep everything remote. And inside of that balance is another set where employees are either hating having to go back in office or loving not having to be confined at home. That I do feel like those who are honestly looking for remote work, it's a perk, right? You're not having to drive into your office every day. And I do think that they view that as a perk. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And maybe the answer is just flexibility. So people can do what's right for them, like we talked about with the insurance choices and stuff like that. We're almost out of time. So I'm curious, what is one thing I didn't ask about benefits that people need to know?
Oh, man. And they are important. They are important. Unfortunately, it's one of the most expensive things in the United States right now. Nobody is going to be shocked by that statement. Healthcare is on the rise, and we're all fighting to try to get it down to where it's not impacting everybody so heavily. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, it is one of those things where I'm never going to encourage you not to have it. It's just going to be like, how can we strategize to make it something that's not, so you're not paying the cost of the same price as your mortgage every month, right?
Yeah, that's great. And that's good. And so we ask everybody on the show, what's one habit that you don't compromise on and in your personal life?
This one's going to be stupid. It sounds stupid, but it has to be keeping up with my water intake. I do not. There's going to be times whenever I feel like I try to stay consistent, whether it's like working out or my routines are the same. I start my morning the exact same way every day, right? There's always going to be exceptions to that rule, because if you've got like an open enrollment meeting that you've got to get to at 7:00, then the way of start my morning is going to look a little bit different than it does typically. But one of the things I never compromise on is like making sure I've got my water.
That is perfect. That's not a stupid one. That's a great one. Everybody needs water's essential. So that's great. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell people about Inspired Benefits. But first, I want to say, if you're on LinkedIn, go find Inspired Benefits and follow them. Follow Kristan as well if you can, because you guys put out some great little clips about when you're thinking about this, and then you do a video or a role play or something like that. And I think it's great to learn about different aspects of the benefits programs. But tell us a little bit about Inspire.
I think the other thing that you need to know about us is we are small by design. What sets us apart from the big box, like large brokerage firms that you're going to see, is we're not sales based. We're service based. So a lot of the larger brokerage firms, they have a large sales team and then it goes down to a smaller service team. Ours is built up quite the opposite. And what's nice about that is like whoever you meet with initially, it's like we're there start to finish. We're not passing you along from person to person. And then also, I feel like we try to bring layers of strategy to our groups depending on what their need is. Some of them like simplicity. They just want you to help them build a basic benefits package and it is what it is. Whereas others are like, tell me about your primary care. How can we combine accident with this piece and make it all make sense and bring in the best value for the lowest cost and manage claims overall. So we can plug in anywhere you need us to. We're very flexible and we're a good team. I like us all.
I can vouch for that. I enjoy getting to know all of your team. You're no longer, where the company I'm with now is not using Inspire. I enjoyed the experience and it's still carried on. That's why we're on this podcast together.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And maybe I could come get some help on Time Bandit for employee benefits. I did put a link there. So if anybody's interested in how I'm starting a position, it's timebandit.io, and that's what funds this podcast. So I'll make that pitch. But then go out there and check it out. Kristan, thank you so much for joining us. It's very useful information. There's so many topics we could have done deep into because it's complex. I think the biggest lesson I'd learned is 2 lessons is ask. Don't be shy about it. There's no stupid question when it comes to your benefits, I think. And then secondly, I'm going to go check out if I have accident insurance because I didn't know. I fall off of it a lot.
Yeah, I like it, especially because a lot of the times, just to close it out, a lot of the time those accident plans have a nice little perk to where if you're going in to get your preventative care done, they're going to pay you like $50 or $90 a year, depending on just to get your preventative visits. That's covered already 100% by your medical plan. And they do that, one, because again, preventative care is everything, but 2, to help offset the costs because you haven't used the plan yet. So
see this podcast is potentially putting money in everybody's pocket.
There you go. I hope so.
Get that money, go to the Apple Store and download Time Bandit. There we go.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Yes.
Very good. Kristan, thank you so much for joining us. I enjoyed the conversation. You certainly know your stuff, and I'm excited, and I hope people reach out to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, and stay tuned next week. We'll have another exciting guest, and be sure to go to your podcast channel or follow whatever they